How's your day going so far? Well, I just loaded into Gideon's meat plant as the first fucking map of tonight, so not good at all. I want to take you back in time for just a moment, dear viewer, to the long, far-off ancient world of 2020. Your favorite Dead by Daylight streamer, no, me. I meant me, you assholes, had not even heard about Dead by Daylight yet. They were still really big into Apex Legends and Overwatch, and in fact, very early on in this year, they wouldn't even become a streamer. Not until much later, when the global pandemic would strike the world, they would lose their job at the casino, and the measly $1,200 stimulus check that was provided would help them build their very first computer ever that they've ever owned in their entire life. $942.67 was the exact amount that I remember to this day, because whenever I first built that very first computer, it was a promise to myself that no matter what, I would not give up on being a content creator. I broke that promise several times, but we're not here to talk about that. The point is that during this time period, Overwatch had entered a state of complete and utter stagnation, and there was basically no reason to play it unless you were either a content creator or you had a crippling addiction to the game, which I'm not here to judge. I know exactly how that feels. I was majorly an Apex player at the time, but I kept a close eye on Overwatch because, as I've spoken about multiple times in the past, it is the first multiplayer game to ever make me truly give a shit about its evolution. It was the first game to ever make me feel like I could do gaming as a career or an art form. Now, it never evolved into that from Overwatch itself. I think we can all argue pretty much that the most successful game I've ever talked about on this channel and in my content creation career has been Dead by Daylight. It's kind of impossible to ignore that. But Overwatch still meant a lot to me. It was still my favorite game for a very long time, and it was very depressing to see basically nothing coming out for at least 2 years. I think it might have been longer. I'd have to go back and look. We did not get a new hero, new maps, new events, and barely any cosmetics were being released. Balance updates were slowed to an absolute glacier snail pace, and overall, everything the developers did felt lazy and uninspired. And the reason for this was pretty simple. They told us they were working on Overwatch 2. It was supposed to be this gigantic, expansive explosion of a new wave of Overwatch that was going to completely transform the way we played the game and make us feel like we were diving into a new era. And while it did take multiple years for it to get to the point of the expectations it set, I will admit that modern day Overwatch 2 is definitely way better than you would expect it to be. I still fucking hate 5v5 with every fiber of my being, but at the end of the day, it was a good thing for Overwatch 2 to come out. Rebalancing the code and redoing it from the ground up to where it didn't feel so outdated and frustrating was very, very, well, good for the game, I guess is the most appropriate word off the top of my head. And so for a long time, a lot of us content creators and even some of the people within the Dead by Daylight community have been kind of asking for DBD to do the same thing. I made a video a long time ago that I don't remember the name of, but basically in that video, I laid out that if behavior did not change the code, if they did not build a new game essentially from the ground up, then we were going to enter an era where Dead by Daylight was basically unplayable. And a lot of people were like, oh, it's been here for all these years and it's not gonna go away. And I just want you guys to know the phrase, if it hasn't killed me yet, it won't kill me, is not a viable outlook on life. I don't care if you smoked for 40 years and didn't get cancer. The 41st year when you do is going to be the fucking 40 years of cigarettes. Very similarly, just because Dead by Daylight has not entered entered a state of unplayability yet in the last 10 years, it does not mean that if we kept going down this road where it was just built off of the same unstable code made out of fucking Pritt stick and Lincoln logs glued together with spit and glitter and have fucking 7 hamster wheels for the servers with 6 of the hamsters being dead, that the next year it wouldn't break. What would be the next update to fully break the game? Because every single update comes with a host of game breaking and minor bugs. At this point in the game, more killers are dysfunctional due to bugs than killers that don't have very many or even any issues. There are so many small and minor problems that it needed to be recoded. This isn't speculation, this isn't my opinion, this is fact. The game needed to be recoded. During the 10th anniversary stream, Behavior announced that they would be doing a massival? What kind of a fucking word is that? I'm a professional author, by the way. They were going to be doing a massive graphical overhaul, and it looks really good. If you didn't see my reaction, because I only really did it live and I didn't do a video on it, I absolutely loved the 10th year anniversary stream. It had so many great, wonderful, amazing things that have given me a little bit of a spark of hope for the future. Now, I know there's always going to be that little bit of pessimism or even a lot of pessimism within some of you and the community that's going to stop you from listening to what I have to say, but I want you to just hear me out. I want you to stop for 2 seconds and ignore all the broken promises and the destructive nature that the devs have been on for the past year and a half and listen to me. There is a possibility, maybe it's a big one, maybe it's a small one, but there is a possibility that the reason we have entered this state of horrible balance and chapters that feel empty and lackluster and frustrating laziness almost is because they are recoding Dead by Daylight. It was almost 100% confirmed that in order to do this big graphical update, that they're going to have to recode the game. Matthew Cote did an interview with Slasher Radio, and that's essentially what he said. But the important thing is that this is not Dead by Daylight 2, and there's a reason for that. It's because of licenses. I don't know how many of you have ever dealt with the private sector and licenses, but I have, actually. I used to work for a company that was very involved in these kind of contracts. It was a legal company. And one of the biggest things that you need to understand is that in the law is a very precise matter. It is a very, very, very precise thing. One word out of place, one implication, and it just goes away. If any of you have ever played like Yu-Gi-Oh before, and you know the difference between like a comma and a colon in how that affects the rules, that's basically how the law works. So whenever Behavior signs these contracts for these licenses to come to their game, they put Dead by Daylight in the contract. If all of a sudden the game was called Dead by Daylight 2, regardless of whether or not it was the same exact game with a coding update, they would lose most of their licenses. And all of a sudden they would be at the hands of a fucking probably half dozen lawsuits, if not more. Now, some license holders might be kind of cool with it, but other ones, like the ones owned by greedy corporations, would definitely be doing everything they can to squeeze every bit of money they can out of this company. And so the smartest thing to do is to recode this game from the ground up, but not make it a big change to the game. We're not calling it a new game, even though it technically is. We're not calling it Dead by Daylight 2, even though it technically is. Because at the end of the day, we can't lose more licenses than we already have. I know for a fact that Behavior is kicking themselves for not adding perma clauses to their previous contracts. We have already had to go through the loss of the Demogorgon, which was thankfully given back to us. Michael Myers and Pinhead are no longer available for new players to purchase, which is absolutely asinine. New players do not get to play. Well, Pinhead's really, really fun. I haven't played enough of the new Myers yet to give you guys my full opinion, but not being able to play your favorite horror icons in a game about playing your favorite horror icons sucks. And so Behavior doesn't want to put that kind of thing at risk. But the reason I'm asking you to listen to me is because, yes, the release of Overwatch 2 was not as bombastic as we wanted it to be. But I think that a lot of that had to do with the fact that Overwatch 2 was announced before it was ready, before it was actually viable to play and come to the public. Kaplan was already pushing it. And whether that was greedy executives or Kaplan's own ineptitude and his arrogance is up to interpretation of the stories that have come out in more recent years. But the point is that Overwatch 2 got announced too early. They announced this graphical update for 2027, which means they're almost done. So I wonder how many years have they actually been working on this? Is the decline in the balancing, the event offerings, the designs, the laziness? I mean, take the most recent event, the Summer Screams event, which I think you're currently in when you're still watching this video. I'm not entirely sure when it's going to be scheduled for upload, and I haven't looked at dates, but we only got 2 cosmetics, Shirtless Quan and Swimsuit V. That's it. The summer event is just that in some random game modes. That feels kind of off. And when I first saw that, it frustrated me, kind of pissed me off actually a little bit. And the same thing happened when I saw the P100 icons. It felt lazy and uninspired. It was a placating thing. But the more that I think about it, the more that I realize all of this is happening as we're getting closer and closer to this recoding graphical update. And this is a good thing, in a way. The graphical update, 1, looks amazing, and it's probably going to bring some really cool gameplay changes to the game. But 2, if the coding is better, we can get more shit. We can give Vecna and his fly ability an actual ability to look up and fly to an upper ledge. We could make Xeno crawl on walls if we want to. We could have a killer do more and more exciting, interesting, and engaging things. We can have more cool stuff happen. Maybe have more status effects or more wild map effects. Imagine if every map had some like unique interactable that just gave the survivors more to work with. Imagine all of the possibilities that come with a gigantic stabilization of the code and come with a more structured foundation. Imagine what we can get when the developers are no longer leashed by their whims from 10 years ago, by the amateurish way that this game was coded. Look, I'm not trying to insult behavior of 2016. They did something most game companies can only dream of. They caught lightning in a bottle. But the coding has always been shit in this game. It has always been bad, and more than one occasion, ideas that the community has wanted, like the removal of perk tiers or giving Vecna the ability to fly with his fucking fly spell, have always been chalked up to we can't do it because the code won't let us. The perk tiers are a great example. Behavior has stated they want to get rid of the perk tiers. They agree it's an outdated system, but they can't because the very structure of the fucking game, the code that holds the game together, if you take out the perk tiers, it falls apart and they can't figure out how to make it not do that. So at some point, maybe we're going to get something better. My buddy KMD and I recently did an interview that you've hopefully seen by this point, and KMD made a great point in that video that I want to bring up here. Give it like 2 chapters after the graphical update. See how you feel then. See if that's it. And if you don't want to, man, I get it, right? I understand. From the bottom of my heart, I'm not telling you to forget all of the bullshit that we as the player base have been putting up with now for years. Some of you, a decade at this point. But I truly think that we're going to see massive improvement when this graphical update comes. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, a great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. If you want to find out how to become a channel member today, get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, and more, then please click that join button down below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you